Well, hello, everybody, and good Sunday morning to you. It is time for Chat with Charles, and I've got Greasy Monkey Guitars here with me today.
What's up?
And how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Doing very well, thank you. It's a beautiful Sunday morning out here in Los Angeles. Got that June gloom action going on. It's a little overcast, and it's probably going to burn off early, but it's a nice, crisp morning. It's absolutely gorgeous. Your classic weather.
Can't be. You and I were having such a good time back in the green room talking. Yeah. And I look up and it's like, oh crap, we're late. So, just to kind of give you folks, you were in for a treat. Greasy Monkey Guitars and I had talked a little bit last night. We've been talking this morning, and this is just what this show is great about, is introducing you to that guy in the chat and finding out they're a lot more fascinating than you ever thought that they were. And so get to know each other, get to put that face with the name. And so Dave, let's go ahead and let's see what we got in the chat.
Okay. So let's see, there's L&M Guitar Corner, and neither Martian nor Murray's here.
All right.
Jimmy Biter, what's up? Ben Coombs, how's it going, bro? Hip Metal Works. And JD Guitars, how's it going?
Well, let me get up a couple of these myself as well. Let's see. Earl Coli had started it off, wanted to know what we're drinking. Well, I've got the coffee. I don't know about Dave. Dave, did you got
coffee?
Anything to drink?
Straight up coffee.
Mm-hmm. And brother Ryan Hall is in the chat, and he's kind of dealing with the pain from the surgery, but he's holding on, and he's going to do his best to listen in.
Hey, stay strong, brother. My wife went through that a couple years ago, so I know exactly what you're going through, man. I feel for you, bro.
There you go. You got Keith H there. Yep, Keith, you are here. And Patrick Trite saying good day. And Arf says, Dr. Fabric and Greasy Monkey, lunch will be ready shortly. I'll be watching and strapping on the feed bag. Love it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, feed bags are important.
Oh, yeah. We got Puppy Badass here.
I love that name.
We were talking about you, Ed.
We were totally talking in a good way, though.
In a good way. Yeah. So you got Dastardly Dave saying sup all.
Dastardly.
We got Stephen Mochmichelli saying, hey, Greasy Monkey Guitars from Charles 75F off to his brother's house for guitars and food. It'd just be silly to say no hang until he gets here, but and catch up tonight. So basically, he'll be checking us on the replay.
Cool.
And we got brother Wayne McConnell saying, hey, fellas, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
And like you mentioned before, Martin from L&M Guitar Corner is here with us. We got Dave Chase, Big Wave Dave said, made it. Hello, folks. Well, hello there, Dave. Good morning to you. We got Jade Guitars saying, hey, Charles 75N and Greasy Monkey Guitars. That is a pretty cool guitar in Avatar. Check that out.
Oh, okay.
That is, now I'm interested. Jade, you need to tell me about this.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
All right, let's see. Hip Metal Works in the chat. You're saying good day, cheers.
What's up?
We got Bruce, Mr. BHB Jr.
Hey, Bruce.
He's listening, but unable to type in the chat. Well, we'll want to welcome you in. We got Steve Reeser.
Steve.
And like you said, neither Martian nor Murray is here.
I got that from Ben. It's kind of funny.
I know. I love it how those things just kind of get moved around. It's just like the whole with the Quentin, don't touch anything.
Yeah, and then the Steve Reeser, Verzers, whatever.
Oh, for sure. And the Jimmy Byer with the WhatsApp. You gotta love Jimmy. Jimmy be on the OU812 network later on.
Yep.
And Ben says, must be a trend today. My guest is from Orange County as well. Orange County tonight. So,
so nice.
He's got JJ from JJ's House of Jams on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. Eddie Faye is in the chat saying hello to both of us.
And searching for Tone. Hey, Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Eddie loves your shirt.
Well, thank you.
We talked about that shirt too. I so need that shirt.
Amazon.
Mhm. Let's see. You got, like you were saying, Brian from Search from Tones here. All right. Blackjack Guitars made his way in. Welcome in, Blackjack.
Nice.
We got Michael B. Said, is this where the best people are gathering this morning? I think so.
Well, I would hope so.
Thank you, kind sir. We got Bonkers saying, morning, my dudes. Well, morning to you, Bonkers. And the guy with perhaps the coolest avatar in all of YouTube, Time Surfing Alien.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, you have finally won me over with this new avatar. I think is better than the original. And in the clincher for me on this one, Dave, is that it marries the surfing with the alien in a way the other one didn't. So
yeah,
we got our resident amp expert JP Page 2 here.
Nice.
Let's see. Welcome in, Jim. And that catches us up with the chat. So it means now, Dave, you are on the hook because you got to answer the question.
Okay.
All right. So the question is, how does Greasy Monkey Guitars get his start in guitar? What starts your guitar journey?
Okay. Well, like I, told you last night, it's, it started off in a really kind of messed up way, but it was really cool. Had a nice little resolution to that decades later. And I was, music wasn't a big thing in my, household growing up. The first song that I remember being aware of when I was a kid was Charlie Brown by the Coasters.
Nice.
And I just, listen to that because I just like the different rhythms and everything and the saxophone. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then when I was 8 years old, I was, living in, in foster care. And I was, when you're in, it was like at the worst possible place, you could probably be in as an 8-year-old. And, you're just locked in a box and you do as you're told or, else you get that. And so I was, like really depressed and things kind of sucked. And then I was like walking by the TV and I heard this sound, and it was just, I happened to look and it was, well, it was like to quote Bryan Adams, it was the summer of '69, I was 8 years old. And it was Jimi Hendrix was playing the Star Spangled Banner on a little thing on the news at Woodstock. And I just saw that and I was just like, holy crap, that was the coolest looking person I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I was just like, the sounds that he was doing, and like, you can do that with a guitar. Plus he was doing his interpretation of the Star Spangled Banner. And I never heard anything like that. And to me, it's like, it kind of lit this little spark in me. And I just like, you can do stuff like that and it's okay. And it's, that was the spark that got me going. And then I've always liked guitar and I kind of tended to lean more towards, cool guitar sounds. And the next big influence was Peter Frampton. And I love Frampton Comes Alive, the talk box and everything. I'm really considering buying a talk box just so I can do some Frampton.
Just like I do that.
I would, they have that MXR one that's really sweet. And, and I, like I said, music wasn't a big thing in my household. So I had to kind of sneak out and, play other, friends' guitars and stuff. And then, went to the Marine Corps and then got out of the Marine Corps. And then I was working in factories, different ones, but mostly in Hasbro Tonka Toys back in Texas. And, I was working minimum 60 hours a week. Sometimes I would average about like 105 hours a week. So, there's not much time for playing guitar and everything. And so then finally after divorce, I picked up my first real nice guitar, which was a 1994 Les Paul Studio. And I got it from Musician's Friend out of the catalog for $650.
Wow.
That's what they were going for in 1994.
And you got to remember, in 1994, that's a significant amount of money. It's like,
it was expensive. And I was like looking at the standards and I was like, damn, that's a lot of money because I fell in love with the Les Paul because
Mhm.
there's this book by Ralph Denver called The Guitar Handbook, and on the section of the history of guitars, they had this picture of a beautiful 1960 cherry sunburst standard, and I
Yeah,
was like, oh, I want one of those. And I got a studio which was white with gold hardware and ebony fingerboard, and it was really really cool.
that is awesome. I want to take you back a little bit in your story though, because uh, when you happened to when you heard Hendrix on the TV,
Hmm.
now you weren't going out there to watch TV. You like you kind of like walking by, right? And it
Yeah, I'm just like
and you
cruising
grabbed.
along, and just walking by, and these guys are on the couch, and you just wanted to not say anything to them. You don't want to be noticed, and you didn't want to have like get yelled at or something. And I just happened to, and it just burned. I heard this like whoa, and it sounded something like science fiction ish. Like some of the weird sounds, and watch War of the Worlds, Lost in Space, and stuff. And yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, I was transfixed. I mean, like typical jaw hit the floor, just standing there, just rooted to the spot, just kind of taking it all in. And it was pretty awesome. And that was my first taste of like real freedom that
Mhm.
you can do that and it's okay. And it was, and the lesson was a black man showed me that, and the irony was never lost on me. And
Right.
it was really cool.
Yeah, in this, especially where you were in that moment, and that idea that there is this freedom out there that you can have.
Yeah.
You just need to decide to have it, and then, but I love that when you take that and you go on to the story of Peter Frampton, right? Because you obviously have this ear for things that are unique within music.
Right. Yeah,
Right,
I
because you
do.
look at what Hendrix was doing with the Star Spangled Banner, you look at what, all the experimental stuff that Frampton did, especially with the talk box,
Yeah.
and that's what those unique things are from talking to you the little bit that we have, it seems to be is what draws you. S
Yeah, that's true. Then after Frampton came Boston's first album, and I would sit and listen to that with headphones on, just trying to, wow, he recorded that in his basement, something of that quality, and I was like, wow, you can do that. I was just like, I didn't know any musicians. I didn't really, I didn't know anything about that. Just what you read in the magazines, and a lot of it was a bunch of fluff pieces, and there was no internet, so you couldn't really do those deep dives.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was pretty good. Then Boston was great, and I was lucky enough to get one of the MXR Rockman pedals like the day they came out, and I love that thing. It's so much fun. And let's see. Then after that was Van Halen. I wasn't like the hugest Van Halen, but I liked what he was doing, and I always enjoyed his music.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was like that, and
Well,
that was like the big, you know.
it fits with that pattern because Eddie's guitar playing was unique compared to everybody else. So no one had heard these kind of sounds coming out of a guitar before, and the lengths was willing to kind of take with it and experiment, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like the first time, like everybody, oh, the first time I heard Eruption. Well, it was a big deal when a lot of younger people, oh wow, no, you don't understand. You've never heard anything like that in your entire life until
Prior
Eddie
to
did
that, yeah.
Eruption. And we would sit there, dude, play that again. No, play it again. Come on, one more time, bro. It's like,
And it's that whole idea that the more you hear something, the more you listen to it, there's something new you find in it.
yeah, yeah,
Right? We'll
absolutely. And
cover that next level of detail.
then
Well, brother Ed, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I forgot.
Well, brother Ed's got a question for you. He says, "How did you come up with the cool name Greasy Monkey Guitar?"
Okay, well, that was I was working at Hasbro Tonka Toys, and we had a plant engineer. I was working in the maintenance department. I worked on inject plastic injection molding machines, and we made the parts, all we stamped out the metal beds for the trucks and all that other stuff,
Mhm.
and did all the Star Wars toys. So I was running, just doing my work, and I had to make some copies. So I went to the big copy room, and then there was this snotty little girl that was working there. She was the daughter of the HR director. So I was like, excuse me, I need to just squeeze by here real quick. I just got to do this. And then she goes, ew, don't get near me. You're a filthy, greasy monkey. And I'm like, really? I'm like, good God, you know, it's like, but it stuck with me. So, you know, thank you, Arlene, for the inspiration, I guess.
All my imaginings of how this name came about, nowhere even near that.
I know. And I was just like, yeah, sure. I worked in the maintenance and, you know, you get a little dirty, but it wasn't like I was gonna, you know, and I was just like, she was there and I was like, let me just squeeze by here, like doing that. And, but she was like this really snotty Nepo baby. And, you know, and she kind of looked down on us in the maintenance because she worked in the office. And it's like, okay, whatever, but we make 3 times the money you do. So why are you looking down on me? You know?
I don't know. Well, you know, want to welcome in a couple people. Ryan OU812, who's going to have a show, the Sunday Jam, later
Ryan,
on
I'll
today.
see you this
Welcome
afternoon.
in. And Sir William of Bologna has made his way in as well. So welcome in, gentlemen.
William.
And JP Page 2 has been giving Martin some advice on an amp. And he says, yep, I get that, Martin, but the preamp completes the circuit with the pickups. So I would guess that the blocking cap went bad. Check cap C60. I bet it's leaking or it's gone bad. So you helping this, you know, the chat helping each other out, right? Easy. Jim is helping Martin troubleshoot an amp, which is great.
That's awesome. It's always nice to you know, just share the info. I mean, no matter what, you can get tired of the same old questions, but sometimes those same old questions is the first question of an inexperienced person, and you got to just like, okay, here's the deal, and then you just do this, do this, do this. Like when I used to work at Carvin, that's where I really started honing my guitar setup skills. You know, and even working at Guitar Center, once they found out that you know how to work on guitars, all of a sudden, hey man, can you work on this guy's? No, I'm not getting commissioned for this. I'm not working on people's guitars. And I was the manager of the acoustic, so I was like setting up all these guitars. I have my my nut files and everything else, and I'd lower the bridges and get the nut height and all this other stuff when no one was looking. So yeah, I had to do like, it was like ninja style guitar setups. My coworkers would like, oh yeah, dude, I'll just sell this. I'll sell this guitar. Hey, I just worked on that.
Well, it's like just fascinating listening to you talk about your story, because the way you just nonchalantly slip things in. Oh yeah, I was a Marine, and then I worked at Carvin, and I was doing setups, and
yeah, you know, I have had this kind of life. I just kind of pop myself into these funny situations and really cool situations, and especially like working at Carvin, like I was like the lunch guy. People would, you know, like one guy who I really considered a friend, who was really a nice guy. He was an introvert like me. Doug Feger from the Knack. He wrote My Sharona.
Okay.
And he used to come in, and we go down to Baja Fresh, you know, down on Sunset, and you know, we hang out, and there'd be a few times that he and we'd have lunch, didn't even say a word to each other. We just ate, and all right, man, later, bro. And he was a great guy. Just you know, felt good energy from him, and I was really bummed out when he passed. You know,
yeah,
he was a good guy
for sure. Well, Bo says, what year were you at Carvin?
Oh gosh, I was there from 1998 to I was there about 5 years.
So Bo is quite the Carvin connoisseur. So,
oh, okay, nice. You know, I wasn't a big fan of their amps and stuff, and I think it was a great move that Jeff Kiesel and his father Mark broke off from the other Yahoos in the Kiesel family and started their own thing. They're not perfect people, you know. I didn't really have a good experience with them. Like most employees, you know, when you left, you know, it wasn't great. But I applaud Jeff, you know, for really modernizing the designs and going in the direction that he did. And plus, you know, Carvin always had fantastic woods. Their flame tops were easily like 10 tops on PRSs, and they didn't charge all that much compared to other people. And the pickups, a lot of people say, I don't like carving pickups. Well, if you take out the cheap, small dime-sized pots and everything, and the guitars they were using, 25 years ago, and you replace them with CTS and an orange cap, I mean, those pickups sound freaking amazing.
Yeah, you got to think about all the other things in that electric chain in that guitar. Yeah, it's like how because you're right. You're running through those pickups through the pots, and if the pots aren't adequate, then
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one time I really surprised. This is a Guitar Max story. This is before Max was Guitar Max. He to me he was just Max. He would come in and he's a wonderful human being. And he would come in and he's like, hey, I got this Jackson Warrior, and it's like the pots crackle and they're kind of crappy. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just put in some CTS pots and ream the mounting holes and put in an orange drop. And so I did that, and I told him, I said, the guitar sounds different because he still had the stock Duncan design pickups in it.
Mhm.
And I said, if you don't like it, I can put in your original crappy little ceramic capacitor. And he's like, wow, it sounds amazing. It's like the spiky high-end detail was gone and rolled off nicely, little fatter mids, nice lower bass, and just by changing that foundation really improved his tone. So even crappy pickups, can sound good with, a little upgrade here and there.
Oh yeah. So I mean, given all the things that you've done, and now given all the things that you've done with guitars, do you have like a favorite moment within this or story that you want to tell? Or
Well, the coolest thing, like I've had some really cool experiences at the NAMM show. Let's see, if I can bring up this picture, like I am the guy who just kind of stumbles into stuff. I say I kind of Forrest Gump my way through life, and
well,
I
there's that.
remember being back at the, if I can get it all the way around here. I was at the Gibson booth at the NAMM show, and I was just like farting around, just kind of walking around, and I turned this corner and I bumped into two of my biggest heroes ever. And I'll bring up the picture, and if you can, I hope you guys can see it. If it's not too crappy, can you see?
I can see BB King, and
That's Les Paul.
Yeah,
So
all the white light on it. So
yeah, I mean, it's like, damn, I just like wish I can. Yeah, that's the thing I hate about showing pictures. But yeah, and so they were having a chat, and I walked around the corner, and I'm all like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they're like, no, it's okay. So I shook BB's hand, and and then Les and I, since he has bad arthritis at the time, and I've got bad arthritis, so we were just like, because my fingers are kind of goosenecked and messed up, and so we were like, laugh, hey, our hands are looking alike, and I'm like, yeah, but I wish mine had your talent. And,
for sure, right? Yeah, for sure.
And then the other cool moment was Peter Frampton, and like the second big major influence in my life, and he was at the Tacoma booth, and just doing his thing there, and I ran into him throughout the day, and then finally is like Sunday, things are wrapping up, everyone's dog tired, and so I'm like walking by, and I saw him and I waved, and so I just he called me over, so hey man, how you doing, and da 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 da, we're chatting, and then he just released this Live in Detroit DVD, which if you don't have it, you should get it. It's a great concert, and it was actually the last tour before Bob Mayo passed away. And so he just came out with this the signature Les Paul. And so I'm like, hey, that's a really cool guitar. And it was the one that he played on that Live in Detroit. So he hands it to me and stuff. And it's like, hey, let's do a little blues or something. So we did a 1-4-5 in E real quick, and I'm nervous. I start sweating, my hands are shaking, and I'm like freaking out, Basically, I almost couldn't hear myself talk on account of like I couldn't hear him over the sound of me shitting my pants,
Yeah.
And so we did a little thing, and I asked him, hey, can you show me? I don't need no doctor. So he showed me that, and I was playing his his Les Paul that he used in that concert, and I was like, holy shit, this is nice. It was chambered, it was lightweight, it was a really nice guitar. And so that was a really awesome thing. And so I gosh, then let's see who else. God, I met after Dimebag. I was working at Guitar Center after Dimebag was shot. Rita Haney was there at the Hollywood store, and she brought his Lightning Bolt ML, and I got to sit and hold that, kind of strum it just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
One
Well, I
time,
mean, so some things coming out. I want to welcome in Dan Gorman, our buddy there.
hey
We
Dan,
were
how's it
talking
going,
about
buddy?
him.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, and Bo was saying, hey, because of Frampton, he bought his first Les Paul Custom in '76. Saw this ad and Guitar Player with him, and decided he had to have it from there.
That's awesome.
And
That is
we
really
just
cool.
saying that was what a great story.
Yeah, and let's
So
see
sorry.
let's see who said. Somebody said there's Mark Kiesel was a good friend. Oh, okay, Guitar Man 45. Okay,
Bo
yeah.
had said, yeah, when we're doing that, I had put that up. Yeah, but apparently he knew Mark really well. So
Oh, I've talked to Mark maybe once or twice in my whole entire life. I actually had more conversations with Lowell Kiesel when I was down at Escondido.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lowell Kiesel was a nice guy. I like Lowell.
There you go. Want to welcome in brother Mark Taft. Hope you're doing well, my friend.
Hi, Mark. One of the coolest things that I fell into when I was working at the Hollywood store in Carvin, um, Clapton was doing his auction for his Antigua Rehabilitation Center, and it was the first auction that he was doing. And so they came in and they wanted like 50 guitar stands. So I sold them 50 of those $8 cheap guitar stands. And so took them out there and they were like, oh, hey, thanks for all your help. And they gave me the press pass and everything. So I'm like, yeah, come on down to the auction house. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know what to expect. And I went down there and there was all these guitars and, I had got my white cotton gloves on and they actually let me hold Clapton's Brownie.
No.
Yes. 56 Stratocaster Sunburst Maple Neck, the one that's pictured on the back of the Derek and the Dominoes album with all the dominoes around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, what was it? It wasn't like pulling Excalibur out of a freaking rock or something. It was just a nice Strat, and it's just like, okay, oh yeah, and I'm holding, what can you do with white cotton gloves?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, oh, okay, cool. Fink, fink, fink. Oh, nice. Carefully put it back. Watching you, don't want to like being really careful, trying not to trip and fall over.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Try not to scratch it as you put it back on the stand.
Oh God, I'm like, oh, you trip and knock it over, like it slides across the floor and bumps into something and something falls on it. And I'm like, okay, I'll just see my way out now.
Well, talking about a guitar like that, that's a good segue into Ed's question here. So what's your go-to guitar?
My go-to guitar is I finally got my Grail, and it is right here. And it's it's a Fender Custom Shop 67 reissue, Blue Flower Telly. See if I can get it without the glare.
See, and I am on board with this one.
I freaking love this guitar so much, and I have a pink paisley Telly too. I just, I'm a, kind of OCD with my, completion thing, so I had to have both. And yeah, but it's like it's such a great guitar, and it's not people's first choice of finishes, but I like it because it is different, and also since like I told you before, me being legally blind with my retinitis pigmentosa, I really appreciate more wacky guitars. Like I have a Theodore Standard in vintage cherry that I love and is such a kick-ass guitar, and looks notwithstanding, it's awesome. Try one, give it a shot. And you're also talking to a guy who has owned two, not just one, Gibson reverse V's.
Oh,
and I miss them so much. I love those flying V's. Oh my God.
I think that's probably the point where we need to stop this interview.
Hey, I'll die on that hill, man. I swear to God, I will die on that hill.
And that's the thing, I think I'm a guy that likes unique guitars too. I'm not quite willing to go that far, but the thing it all comes down to is you play what you like. what makes
Yeah.
you happy, right? It does nothing else really matters in all that.
My biggest argument for the reverse V is just sit down, put it in your lap, and it is at the absolute perfect playing position. It's
Mhm.
so comfortable to play, and unlike an SG or a Firebird where like the neck is kind of kicked out a little bit, it's kind of the neck joint's kind of tucked in a little bit, and it feels a little more compact and it's much easier to play. And yeah, it's a fun guitar. Looks notwithstanding.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and it's interesting, different guitars do different things for different people, right? It is, and it's, me, I am a sucker for semi hollow, right?
yeah,
Full hollow body, and it doesn't even matter. To some point, if it's got the look, it doesn't even matter if it plays well,
yeah,
because it's a visual thing, right? It just
yeah,
is, and that and Telly's, it's like.
yeah.
So it is. So I absolutely love your number one. I absolutely
Oh,
love
thanks.
your number one.
Tellys are my jam too. I mean, I love all guitars, but for me personally, it's got to be a Telly.
Mhm,
You
yeah.
know, above everything else. And like my Theodore Standard, it's you know what Ben Coombs said when he did a review on that is it makes you play something other than you get an SG. What do you want to play? Some Angus riffs,
Yep, for sure.
Tony Iommi riffs. Play a Les Paul. You bust out some Page or some Beck or some Clapton or something. You play a Theodore. What the hell are you gonna
Yeah,
do with
well,
it?
yeah, you gotta
You
come
come
up
up
with
with
something
something
new.
different, and that's the cool thing about different guitars. They'll make you play or approach something.
Yeah, that is true. Different guitars will make you approach what you're playing a little bit different, and even what you feel like noodling on. It's how you find new stuff, by trying different stuff.
Yeah, and then that's the fun thing about it. And my Theodore, it's like I mean, it's loud. You just strum a chord and I mean, it's like, my wife's like, I can hear it all the way in the bedroom.
Yeah, and you start talking about unique guitars. Those Theodores are pretty darn unique.
Yeah, and they're comfortable too. And the way the horns are, people like, oh, it looks like a tulip or whatever. When you set it right on your leg, it is just
It,
such a good playing position. And you get a little more tension with the Explorer headstock than you would with the 3 on a side headstock. So,
mhm,
you have a little more string tension and on the lower, the lighter strings.
nice. Well, Bogat wants to know, have you worked on any of the Joe Walsh guitars while you were at Carvin?
No, I never worked on any of his guitars, but I actually got him signed on as an endorser at Carvin, and I did not get one bit of thanks for that. So,
Well, let's clear that up right now. How did this unfold?
well, I was, working at the store in Sherman Oaks. They basically cleaned house and got rid of everybody there, the manager and the assistant manager. So they goes, hey, we're going to make you manager of the Sherman Oaks. So I'm like, I don't want to go to Sherman Oaks. I like Hollywood. So I went there begrudgingly. And so one day Joe Walsh just comes walking in with his manager, Smokey, and he picks up two of the, we had the last two 30 vintage 33, like a tweed kind of fabric covered single 12, about
Mhm.
30 watts or so. And he bought two of those with the foot switches and the covers. He bought all the accessories. So, took off. Next day, he comes back in again and he buys the 212 version, 50 watt of that amp. So I'm like, okay, covers, got all that stuff, sent them out. Then literally the next day he comes in and, and we had the last two of the 50 watt tweed heads with the 410 cabinets. And he bought those two with all the accessories. And then we went to lunch at El Torito down the street. And yeah, that was El Torito makes some good Mexican food.
There you
But
go.
yeah, and he was just chatting with him and Smokey, and yeah, I had a few with him, and that was actually the last time I think I drank. Good Lord, I had to kind of stagger back to the store. This is before he got sober,
Right.
permanently. But Joe Walsh he's a great guy. He's really cool, and he just it does not look too weird, Arf. You're just talking crazy.
Well, Wade's
Wayne.
backing you up. He says it's not a bad hill to die on. So
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. And yeah, but Joe's really cool guy. And then and I told the artist relations guy's name was Dave Flores, and so I'm like, hey man, uh, Joe Walsh was in here 3 times. I got his number and stuff. So then I kind of arranged the limo to take him down, to Escondido, and then they signed him on as an endorser right off that, and that was pretty much it. I was
Mhm.
kind of like ticked because I didn't even not even a little thank you or something. That would have been nice, but that's just how they are.
Awesome. Want to welcome in Vox Guitar Rocks. He says he's a little late coming in, but you know, after having his birthday party last night, well,
Well, happy
approved
birthday!
and happy birthday to you.
Absolutely, that's a good excuse for anything.
Oh yeah.
So, that was my birthday. I just like, dude, totally understand, bro. It's all right.
I tell you that's the really one of the really nice things about this community. It's like, people come in they'll come into a show late and say, "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm thrilled you're here."
Yeah, it's all good. There's been
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like spacing out or doing something. I'm like, oh man, crap. Then I jump on it's like, okay, well, good night, everybody. Have a great day. I'm like, son, no.
Darn.
Oh well, back to the replay.
That's like we got Cushman NYC who's made his way in. He says, "Hey,
Hey, Chris, man, how you doing, bud?
here you go, hello." And we got Steve Cassidy Guitars. This is hello,
Cassidy.
guitar likers. Also late.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I've been catching up on some Steve Cassidy content and stuff. Yeah, I like his style.
Oh yeah, he's a blast. I have so much content that I need to catch up on. It's not funny. I'm way behind.
Yeah, I could literally spend all day on YouTube and not have a life of my own just trying to catch up on content. There's so much out there.
But I mean, and I think that's part of this is that it's quality stuff. It's like it's things that you want to watch, and so you find the time to do it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I don't just watch guitar stuff. I mean, I watch, car stuff, airplane stuff, motorcycle stuff,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of painting stuff,
I
like
I
painting
I
cars,
was
doing
on
custom.
I was on a complete Vice Grip Garage binge yesterday.
Oh, I love Vice Grip Garage. Did you ever watch Shade Tree Surgeon?
Oh no, no, I've no. I
He's a
may have
Florida
watched
man.
one, but I'm not for sure.
He's a guy out in Florida, and buys bikes and flips them and stuff. And he works. One reason I like his channel so much is like as a person who's lived in foster care, he supports this guy named David and his wife, and they have this big old plot of land. And what they do is they have this organization called Forgotten Angels. And what they do is they help mentor these kids who aged out of the foster care program.
Mhm.
Once they're 18, the people fostering them are not getting any money. So what do? Put their stuff in a garbage bag, get out. And so this group helps, and they do raffles and motorcycles and stuff to, get money for these guys. So it's a really cool cause.
You go. That is pretty interesting. I'll have to check it out now.
And he's funny. He's, a bit rough around the edges and stuff. He's basically a tattooed Florida swamp wizard. He self-describes himself. And he's awesome. Yeah.
You go. Well, here's a question. I know the answer to it, but I'm gonna let you answer it.
Okay.
Matt says, "Does Greasy make content on his channel?"
I'm kind of gearing up for that. I'm going to be filming. I'm going to do a string change on my telly here, and put on some Bensonite saddles and stuff. But yeah, I'm like I'm working on that right now, and I just have to I live in a small apartment here in LA, rent control. So that's why I'm here, and I'm waiting to buy a house, but I'm waiting until the market cools down a little bit, and then working out because it's tough to get insurance on a house nowadays here in
Oh yeah.
California. The insurance, they just don't want to cover anybody anymore. So I'm just waiting on that. But yeah, I will, I'm going to be doing some content. And I'll probably be putting something up, this week. Like, I buy a few parts for guitars. Like I got some, let's see, some cool bridge saddles for a telly from Music City Bridge. And I got this from All Parts. It's a tailpiece I'm going to put on my Theodore, but it's made for top wrapping. If you can see, the grooves on the top of this.
Uh-huh. Oh, pretty
So
cool.
yeah, I'm gonna, change up a couple things, put some cream tone pickup rings on it and stuff, and some lampshade knobs, and you know,
There is currently one video up on on Dave's channel,
yeah.
and it's an amp video. So I am putting his channel in the link so that
Thank you.
as as Dave comes up and adds more content to the channel, that y'all can go ahead and head on over there, give him a sub, and you'll be ready for it when it comes up.
I would appreciate it. I checked. I was like, I've got 12 subscribers. How the hell did I get that? And yeah, and the video is basically just a real quick clip. Whenever I plug in, like, I'm a fuzz face freak. I love fuzz faces. I have a ton of fuzz face pedals. Um, oh, hey, bro.
Yeah, so Bruce has,
I'm
he
sorry that
also
you have
has a
that, but
retinitis
it's nice to
pigmentosa.
know that I'm not alone here in the struggle.
So, but it is it, and Bruce is a great guy too. You guys probably get along really well.
Yeah, I pretty much get along good with pretty much everybody.
Mhm.
Sometimes, you don't, but, I try to be like water. Eventually, water will smooth away the rough edges, like in a river, you
Oh,
know,
for sure.
just
So,
kind of going with the flow.
so Matt has subbed you, and
Oh, thanks, bro.
brother Ed has subbed you.
Oh, thanks, Ed. I appreciate it.
Mancha subbed you.
Oh,
Kush subbed you. So there you go. And
man.
we
Oh,
have last week's guest has made his way into the chat here, Sean Hockey.
hey, Sean, what's going on, bro?
Absolutely had a great time with him last time, and looking forward to a part 3.
That was a great show.
Thank you.
His man cave. Good Lord, I'd kill for that.
I am so jealous of that, and it was. I'm afraid that if I ever get in there, I'll never leave.
Yeah, it'll be like, dude, come on.
And Sean subbed you as well. All right.
Oh, thanks, Sean. Yeah, it's like you hear the crackle of the stun gun and things go dark, and then you wake up in the front lawn.
Oh, Bruce, I appreciate that, but you're one hell of a guy for sure. And Patrick tries to sub you as well.
Thanks, Patrick.
So, wow.
I think that should be almost like 20.
And Blackjack subbed you, so.
Oh my God.
And so did Time Surfing Alien.
Okay, thanks, guys. Well, you know what?
Now you have to generate the content.
And I will do that. I will not disappoint, the subscribers. That's, it really means a lot, guys. Thank you so much. And it's a thing, like, being blind and with my arthritis and stuff, you try to, I like to think of it like, sometimes life can, we all have struggles. Everyone has problems, but it's how you cope with it and how you react to it. And it's easy to be just a angry, bitter a-hole about it, and just like, okay, I get it. And I see a lot of that at the VA whenever I go for my appointments. And I try to be a little positive, even though being positive might rub somebody the wrong way. But you know what? I'm not going to change. I'm still going to be that guy.
Well, and honestly, becoming bitter is like the easy thing to do, right?
Yeah.
To feel sorry for yourself, it's like, okay, well, that's always our first reaction.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
you hang on to it, because nobody likes being disappointed, and it's like whenever you get bad news, that's the natural response to it. And my whole opinion on it is, okay, great, but now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Right.
You just gonna stew, let it affect your health.
You choose how you want to live with this. It's not what happens to you, but how you deal with it that makes you the person you are.
Yeah. And like even with my situation, all in checks of humor, like a really good friend of mine that I worked with at Carvin, quarter century ago. His name is Stefan Norden, and great guy from Sweden. And he does the music. He works in the studio, and he has a Hot Wheels account, so he does all the music for like Hot Wheels commercials and stuff.
Right.
And so he and I were in Guitar Center in Hollywood, and he was building a guitar, and he's like, he wanted a witch hat knob that said tone. He's going to use that as a volume, kind of like what Eddie did. And And he was like, yeah, but I just don't want to buy one. They're kind of hard to get. And I'm like, oh, hey, dude, tell you what, stand here and I'll go do the blind guy thing. And I'll just wander and crash into this big old stand of guitars. And then while I'm thrashing around screaming, I'm blind and I'm suing, then you can just use that distraction and grab the knob and no one will know. And Stefani's like, oh no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I go, you thought about it for a second, didn't you? She goes, well, yeah. You know. You know, and he's a big, tall Swedish guy, and you know, I love Swedish people, man. They're so freaking cool. Swedish people and Armenians. I've gotten to know a lot of the Armenian community living out here, and actually, a good friend of mine, Dinesh. If you ever watch the Gibson Gear Guides or Gibson TV, Dinesh, he's the one doing the demos and interviewing people and stuff. I've known Dinesh for 25 years, and I haven't spoken to him in quite a while, but him and his bass player, Jose Castro, they're always in bands together. And they used to come over to my apartment in Burbank, and we'd play GTA San Andreas and stuff and, hang out. And, Dinesh is a great guy. And I am so busting with pride seeing him, kind of breaking out this LA scene and doing really good with Gibson. And I'm just big fan of his, love him to death.
You have had quite the experiences, and the group of people you've been able to get introduced to and in your interactions, and I will say from the conversations that you and I've had, you're just a delight to talk to anytime.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's like like I said, I Forrest Gump my way into a lot of stuff, and I told you, I actually requited the first time I ever fell in love when I was 5, and I requited that, with the Television Star. And that was cool how I fell into that, and it was just like, so it was pretty awesome.
So we're going to hold on to that story for the next episode, folks.
Okay, it's a funny story, and it has an unexpected twist that you'll never see. You'll never see coming.
Oh my! I hope that's not a play on words.
No, not at all. It's not. It's kind of what you think, but it's not what you think.
And so we'll see what we got here. Steve says, "Up in the Swedes make great chefs too." Sure.
Yeah, they do.
Eddie facing quite accomplished. Oh, here we go. We got a Mark question. Question for both of you. Besides your fondness for the music world, what other hobbies do you have?
Let's see. I like aviation. I'm a big airplane nut. Like I used to, work on, F-4 Phantom fighter jets when I was in the Marine Corps. And so I've liked motorcycles. I just love machinery, mechanics. I can watch somebody fabricate welding a trailer, just to haul wood out to the dump. That stuff fascinates me. I enjoy building models, even though I haven't done that. Some of these models that are coming out with the betterment of technology and stuff, like there's this, like, it's about this long of the Millennium Falcon from episode 4 from Bondi, and it's called a perfect grade, and it is an exact replica of the film. They actually scanned the studio model from A New Hope to build this, and like round 2 Polar Lights models has a 350 scale kit of the Enterprise that you can light up and stuff, and they even do the motion picture Enterprise and stuff, and they're about like 3 feet long. Yeah. You got to have the room for them, but I've always wanted to build something like that.
I tell you, for me, I love fishing because it's something I do by myself and not have to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed working on cars, some woodworking, anything that's creating something.
Yeah.
And I think part of that comes from my innate nature is I want to understand how things work. And but you don't get any better idea about that than to build something. And so, and by nature, I'm a problem solver. So I love adapting old technology to new uses.
Yeah.
And so it's just all those kind of things. I guess all those kind of things that you can do as a solitary person.
Yeah.
And you just lose yourself in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun. Yeah, like say working on an old airplane, changing out all the old incandescent light bulbs and stuff to intensity strobe LEDs and running all the wire. And since the wiring's a lot smaller, you save weight on the aircraft. And um, like on a Cessna 172, for instance, the battery's like 40 pounds. And nowadays they have these lithium batteries that are 4 pounds. And on a lightweight aircraft like that, you shed a bunch of weight, it really, you take off faster and land slower. And yeah, it's great.
I tell you, one of the one thing that I didn't ever think that I would be interested in aviation, but I had a friend when I was in college that was a former French Air Force pilot.
Yeah.
And so he joined the flying club, and he's like, one day he said, "Hey, I'm taking the Cessna up. You want to come with me?" And I'm like, have this horrible, horrible, horrible fear of heights.
Oh,
And so we get up there, and my eyes never leave the RPM gauge. Like, and I'm watching it, and whenever it goes, when it ticks down a little bit,
yeah.
like freaking. And so we're up there for hours, and all of a sudden, he's like, "Okay, it's all yours," and just let's go the wheel and. And there I am, and for a little bit, I'm flying the plane, not knowing anything of what I'm doing, and but it was just a really interesting experience, and I was like, maybe this might not be a bad thing. I never did anything with it again, but it opened up that door.
Yeah, yeah. After I got my diagnosis, I told you about I went to the VA hospital in Long Beach where they have a blind rehabilitation center, and I did a 6 weeks comprehensive thing, blind guy boot camp, and they have like different activities. So they asked me, "Would you like to go soaring?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, flying a glider." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'd love to do that." And so we went way out in the high desert, and so it was a 2-seat glider. So I got in the front, he was in the back, and we called him Captain John. And Captain John did over 200 missions flying F-4 Phantoms over Vietnam. And so I told him that I was a jet engine tech on a Phantom. So he was a Phantom flyer and I was a Phantom fixer, and we bonded right there. So we were a crew. So we were flying, and he goes, since we're Phantom buddies, you mind if we do some slightly unauthorized maneuvers? I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. And so we did some rolls and some stuff like that, and he let me take the stick, and like seeing on the horizon, I can kind of lose sight of stuff, pardon the pun. So I sticking to the instrument panel, level, wing attitude, everything's, so I flew it for a little bit, and that was really cool.
Well, Tom was telling some stories about his grandfather flying planes in World War II, and his
Nice.
dad's getting some treatment in VA for cancer now, so we wish him the best for sure.
Yeah, best wishes for your father.
Well, given this, you've been on quite the journey, because the really interesting thing is, as this has rolled out in our different conversations, I was like, really? And really? And really? It's fascinating.
This is like the first time I really told anybody about it. I mean, I tell my wife and stuff, but thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. It's, I don't really tell anybody because it sounds so like, "No, you're full of shit. You didn't do that." But I did, Yeah, I just, like I said, I Forrest Gump my way, in life a lot. I just kind of ended up doing this, and, like I have some, being here in Los Angeles, like some of the, funny stories I have, like Rosanna Arquette, when I was in Sherman Oaks, she would come up and, pull up in front of my store, and I'd be out there front. The first time I met her, I was out front sweeping, and then she's like, "Hey, I'm going to go get a mani and a pedi. Could you like make sure," she handed me like a bunch of quarters, "and could you like feed my meter?" I'm like, "Sure, Miss Arquette, no problem." So, and I'd go out there and check it. And then, I put in a couple quarters or whatever. And then she'd come back out, and I'm like, "Okay, here's your quarters. No, keep it. All right, thanks. That was my tip."
You know, that's just wild that stuff happens, right?
Yeah, and just out of the blue, like, sweeping up in front of the store, Katie Seagal walks by and, "Hey," and, she's even prettier in person than, on TV, and, like Jerry Ryan that, played Seven of Nine on Star Trek, she, was taking her daughter to the pet store next door to my store,
Mhm.
and, she was just dressed real simple, and she was just, yeah, she's just very nice and just, like, absolutely stunning with no makeup or anything, just perfectly a natural beauty, and, yeah, she's really cool, and, I used to even have lunch with a porn star. She was really nice. Her name was Sharon Mitchell. She did porn back in the '70s, and her building was right next to the pet store of my store, and that was Adult Industry Medical, where all the sex workers used to go get their testing so they can perform in the movies. And so I see her, hey Sharon, what's going on? So we used to go to the pizza place across the street and have lunch,
Yeah.
and that was about it. So, and she was really nice, and she was a powerful woman, and she did a lot of good in the industry. She tightened up regulations and did a lot of advocacy for sex workers, and she shut the whole when they had the big HIV outbreak in the early 2000s, she shut down the whole industry.
There you go. And
Yeah,
then Tom says, "Hey, everyone's a human being, right?" For sure.
yeah, absolutely.
That that really gets me when we need to treat everybody like they're somebody, and when people don't, because they think they're better, it's just
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'm almost afraid to ask the next question.
What's that?
So, where would you like your guitar journey to go from here?
Well, basically, I've just wanted to just get better at playing. Honestly, I mean, I see like the OU812 guys. Oh, those guys are just stupidly good, and I really enjoy their playing, especially Randy Price. I mean,
Mhm.
that guy just his playing is just freaking on point. Jimmy Biter, amazing. Ryan and John
It's a
DeShane.
wealth of talent over there for sure.
I know, and it's like, good God, I would like a goal to get good enough where I can just sit in on their show and just do a couple songs. That would so working towards that. I'm taking the True Fire courses, and I'm kind of going through some some country and some jazz stuff,
Nice.
and then kind of getting more of a foundation there, and then just kind of mixing some rock in there. And growing up, I music wasn't a big part, but what I did hear was a lot of country, and I got a lot of. I used to watch Hee Haw when I was a kid, and love Buck Owens.
Yeah.
He's amazing, and he was always there. Like even the night he died, he still played for his fans.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in Bakersfield, and these guys came. As couple came out there, and he was like ill and not feeling very well, and oh man, that's a drag. But we came here to see you, and so he goes, you know what? He got up on stage, did a few songs, and then he went home and he died that night.
Yeah.
So he put out for the fans. I mean, he did not phone it in.
And I tell you, I think I had that same experience of watching Hee Haw as a kid, and it introduced me to things that I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise. Like but there was a lot of country going on in my house, but uh, wasn't a lot of Buck Owens. There wasn't a lot of Roy Clark, and to watch Roy Clark play,
Yeah,
it's
good God.
amazing. And
Yeah,
then watching it go from the guitar to the banjo it's like
yeah. There was this scene I seen on YouTube. It was from the show The Odd Couple, and Roy Clark was doing a guest, and he was just shredding in Malaguena or something like that, and he just did an amazing job. And even Tony Randall, he broke character. He's like, oh my God, everybody was just so blown away by this guy. Roy Clark is just phenomenal. Always been a huge fan of his. And he's like one of those guys I consider I couldn't play his stuff in a million years.
Oh, let's see. And let's see what's something came up here. Okay, so Eddie Fay says plus fusion with music and humor was amazing. Yeah, on Hee Haw for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Vox is saying Roy Clark was a monster player. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And Ben Tom's saying True Fire makes great stuff. So
They do. I like their catalog of lessons.
Mm-hmm. And Sean Hockey saying that blues is a great intro to rock as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I remember the first band. Let's see, wait. Yeah, the first like band I ever played with was back in Texas, and it was a cumbia band, and I was the only white guy in the band, and usually in the venues that we played. And
Mhm.
they were just simple, 2, 3 chord songs, like no big deal.
Yeah.
And they'd introduce me on stage and El Gringo, and then you hear the audience is chanting Gringo, Gringo. So
That's hilarious.
it didn't bother me. And then the next band I played with was a guy named Mark, and it's country. Played country in this one bar that was close to where I lived. And the cool thing about him is his drummer was like the first kind of notable musician that I really played with. And his name was Dalton Powell, and he was the drummer for the Bobby Fuller Four. They had the song "I Fought the Law,"
Yep.
and Dalton was a great guy. And I was working at Hasbro, and we were making the Alien toys. So, and he liked action figures, so I brought him every freaking variant of those little alien creatures and stuff, and he had them all over his little study. And his wife used to freak out because she hated those things because they look so ugly, and she thought they were like big mutated roaches or something. Like, what the hell is that? And so hanging out with him, and he would tell me some stories, and he yeah, like what happened with Bobby Fuller was just, Bobby had some issues with the gambling, and well, he owed money, and
Mhm.
things happened, and it didn't end well.
That is often a lot of stories in that way.
Yeah, they were so good too. And like you
Mhm.
listen to, I Fought the Law. It's just such a great song. It's just right there, just right under, I think it's like 2 minutes, 30 seconds or
Oh,
something like that.
it was a great song. It pretty much became an anthem for a long time, right?
Yeah. And then the Clash did a good cover of that.
Mhm.
And, but I still like the original better.
Well, Mark Taft, we'll see you. We'll see you. You have a great rest of your day, my friend.
All right. Take care, Mark.
And it's really kind of signal we're a little bit over time here, and
Really?
so Greasy, like I said, we're gonna have to have a part two, just
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
for sure. Uh, Want to remind everybody to go on over. Music Therapy Last is coming on here in a minute, and then we've got the OU812 crew with their Sunday Jam,
Yep.
and Ben Coombs has JJ from JJ House of Jams on tonight. So
Oh,
there
nice.
is plenty left to see on the YouTubes on this Sunday for sure.
Yeah. I really
Uh,
love the bad album covers you do with Ben. That's
that is a lot more fun, and the nice thing about it is the chat is so good with it now that we
yeah.
can hang back and let the chat run with it.
I have a suggestion. I don't know if you've ever seen this album cover. It's a artist named Millie Jackson, and the album cover is called "Back to the Shit."
Oh no, I have to.
Yes, look that album cover up. You're gonna laugh your ass off. If Ben puts that up on the show, I guarantee you people are gonna get a reaction. It's funny. It's like she thought that was a great idea for an album cover.
Ben, if you're still listening, you might want to check out this album because it's almost better if I don't see it ahead of time.
Yeah, you're gonna. Oh my god. It's like, well, some of those covers is like, okay, what were they thinking? I mean, some of the dresses look like okay, did you pinch them off some curtains out of an old hotel or something?
For sure. For sure. Well, everybody, thank you very much for being with Dave and I today. It's been an absolutely awesome show, and the chat, you guys in the chat make it so much better. So we appreciate you being here. Go on over, head over to Music Therapy Last, and we're going to take you out with our theme song by Ben Coombs.
That's
And
a great song.
Dave, you hang in there, and we'll talk some more.
Okay.
All right. Have a great Sunday, folks. Thank you for being with us.
Later.